Hello, I'm Richard Popham with Circle K Katahdins. As a member of Kentucky Sheep and Wool Producers Association, I'd like to share a video of how I keep my records. I raise sheep, so that's the terminology I'm going to use. This will also work for goats if that's what you have. I think keeping records is probably one of the most important things you can do raising livestock. It really doesn't matter if you've got 5 sheep or you've got 500 sheep. You need to know which ones are making you money, which ones are costing you money, how they're performing. With good records, you know which ones are doing their job, which ones are not. It really doesn't take as long as you might think to keep good records. You will spend less time keeping good records than you will fighting with animals that just don't do well and trying to figure out why you can't make money with poor doing animals. They all take the same amount of pasture, feed, water, minerals. You might as well give that to good ones as to ones that just want to suck up your resources and cost you money all the time. So whether you've got just a few head of sheep or you've got 1,000 sheep, you just can't remember everything that goes on with every individual one and what their history is, who their mother was, what ram were they born to. Was this a twin? Was it a triplet? Was it a single? You just don't remember after a little bit of time. So you really need to write things down and keep your records. So I'm going to go through here real quick how I do my records. I start out with this book right here. Join your Kentucky Sheep and Wool Producers Association or your Goat Producers Association. You'll get this book. It's really handy. It's easy to take to the barn. It fits in your pocket. You can get a lot of good stuff in here. So here is a picture of my book. There's a lot of little notes in here. I put down where they're twins or triplets, the information from the ewe and the ram, when they were born, their weights, things like that. Notes of where I fostered this one off onto another ewe. I will say, take pictures of your book once in a while. Get your phone out, take a quick picture of it. That way, when it falls in the water bucket, when somebody decides it's an appetizer and they chew it up, you haven't lost all your records. Now, the way I keep my records is with Excel. It's a program a lot of people have got. You can buy other programs. You can use Herd Boss. You can use Ranch Manager. But since I had Excel, I just used that. It took me a while to get it set up the way I want it. And you are certainly welcome to a copy of what I have set up if you would like to use that. Right now, what I'll do is I'll just run through how I do that in Excel. So if you get a copy of it, you'll know what to expect. This is a view of my records. Now, it may look like a lot. There's a lot of information in here, but it's really not that hard to do this. I tried to set it up so somebody else can use this if they want to. A lot of the entries are done with drop-down menus, so you don't have to type so much. It makes it easier to keep on your phone. I keep it stored on a cloud drive. That way I can look it up on my phone or I can look it up on my laptop, either one. If I make changes on my phone, next time I pull it up on the laptop, those changes are there. So that works out pretty well for me, and I don't have to pay any fees for doing that. Let's start out. I'm going to show you how I do this. If you get a copy of this program, it's probably going to open up like this. It's an instructions tab. It has a lot of information here of what the information means, how you enter it. It'll be something you can refer to of how to use this. Yes, I did put in a shameless plug for myself here because I did put a lot of work over the years getting this set up, and I wanted to. So the way we'll start out is you'll click on your Use tab down here. It brings up this page. You simply put in your UID. I've put some examples in here. You can just type right over those to put in whatever you need, whether you give her a name, you give her a number, however you ID your animals. You put in their ID, you put in a birth date for them. When were they born? If you don't know exactly when they're born, just try to guesstimate it, put in something close. This information is used in some of the calculations, so try to get something reasonably close. Their birth type. Was this ewe born a triplet, a twin, a single? What size litter did she come from? And again, this is a drop-down menu. Click on the cell, you get the little arrow here, click on that. It gives you your options that you want to pick. Pick the one that applies. If you end up with something in there that, oh, that's not right, I really don't even know what she was born as, click the blank at the bottom and it takes that out. So we can put those in there. If you notice when you put in her birth date, it automatically calculated her age. And that's one thing I want to bring up is all these pink and white cells they're locked. If you try to click on them, you can't even access these cells. That's where all the formulas are that make this thing work. And so don't worry about messing this thing up. I don't think you can. The green areas is where you will enter information, whether that be something you type in or it's a drop-down menu for you to select from. This is where you put your information in. For your ewes, you put in your UID, you put in their birth date, the birth type, the registration numbers, this stuff out here. If you don't know it, don't put it in. Don't worry about it. It's information you'll have if you need it. If you don't have it, well, you don't have it. Up here at the top, this is where you can put in your NSIP number if you're enrolled in the National Sheep Improvement Program. You can put in your breed ID if you're in like the Katahdin Association. If you don't do these things, you're not in these associations or programs, just don't put anything in there. It won't really affect anything. So again, for your ewes, put in the ID of the ewe, put in her birth date, put in the other information if you have it. Once you're done with that, you go to the Rams tab. On the Rams tab, it's laid out pretty much the same. Put in the Ram's ID, put in his birth date, put in the other information here if you know it. All the blue out here is information that will be calculated for you later on as you put in your lamb information. The cold tab here, the cold column, it's again a drop-down menu. If you no longer use this ram, you just put an X in here and his information will be grayed out. It's still there if you want to go look at it, but it's grayed out so it cleans up the page a little bit as you get more rams entered in here. If you change your mind, we'll put that information back. His information is all there. So for the rams, put in their ID, put in their birth date, put in the other information if you have it. Now when it comes to lambing, comes time to do your lambs. You pick the year that you're working with, the lambing season, 2020 here. These would be the lambs that are born, say, in the spring of 2020. I will caution you, if you decide to make changes to these tabs and delete them, do not delete the 2020 tab. Leave it the first year tab. Don't delete it, even if you don't put anything in it, because it's used in some of the calculations. So we select our year tab after we've entered our ewe and ram information. You'll notice the UIDs are already here. As you put them in the ewe tab, they show up here too. It gives you the age of what she is in the year 2020. Here is where you will mark if you're going to cull this ewe. Her information again will be grayed out. It will also be grayed out on the Use tab. So we'll put her back in here. For the year 2020, we're going to expose this ewe to a ram. We're going to expose her to ram 1. We're going to put in her breed date. When was she bred? She was bred on the 15th of October of 2019. Again, this pink information will be filled in for you later. You enter in the green areas. You put in her weight. How much did she weigh when she was bred? You can put in how much she weighed when you wean her lambs at the end of the year. The weaning weight is just information for you to have. The breeding weight is good information to have. It also is used in calculating how efficient this ewe is. So we can put that information in there. We come over here, and did we have to deworm this ewe this year? Yes, we did. So we'll put that in there. We can keep track of how many times we have to worm this girl. You can put in any treatments you needed to give her through the year. You can put in other notes for her for this year, so you can keep track of that. When we started this breeding season, when did we put the ram in? We put him in October 1st of 2019. And we took him out December 15th of 19. Now remember over here I said when we put in the breed date for this ewe, it calculated her due date. That's for this ewe. But since we put in the ram in and out information, we now have a range of when our lambs will be due. From February through May here, we know the lambs could be born in any time in here. If we get past this date very much and we've got ewes that have not had lambs, they're probably not going to. So you know when to kind of quit looking for your lambs. Now as you scroll across here, you'll notice the top of this turns yellow. That kind of alerts you to the fact that you're now in the lambing section. This is where you'll put in your information for the lambs being born. You just put in the lamb ID. So you put in their ID numbers that you give them. As you put this in, it tries to calculate your NSIP number for you. It gives you suggestions for registration numbers and scrapie tag numbers. If these numbers are not the numbers you want to use, you can simply click on that cell and put in whatever number you want to use there. It's just trying to save you some steps if you have your tags pre-printed and know what those numbers will be. So you can again put in the genome type if you've had them tested. If you've not had them tested, you don't have to put anything in. You can come back and put that in later when you have them tested, if you do. So you put in their lamb ID, you put in their birth date. When was this lamb born? You put in the sex of this lamb. This is a ewe. Who was its mother? It was born to Lily. You put in the sire for this lamb. It was ram 1. You scroll across, litter size. Well, this was a twin. And it was raised as a twin. So she had twins and she raised them both. Because we put in the second ranked lamb was born the same day. It's a ram lamb. Was also born to Lily from the same ram. It is a twin. It was raised as a twin. So now we can put in, we know the lamb's number, its birth date, its sex, its mother, its father, what size the litter was, how it was raised, lambing ease. We can simply put in, we didn't observe this lambing. I don't know how it went. I saw it, and she didn't need any assistance. She needed some assistance, hard assistance. You can put this information in. And it assigns a score to that. Mothering. How did the mother do for these lambs? Well, 1, she rejected these lambs. 5, she adopted lambs that weren't even hers. So she's a great mother. Maybe on this one, she accepted this lamb just fine. She didn't reject it. She did a real good job with it, but it was her own lamb. But now this ram lamb, she didn't do too well. She finally did accept it, but it took a little coaxing. So she didn't do so well with that one. We'll give her a 2 on that one. And you'll notice now, first CDT shot due. These turned yellow because based on the birth date, these shots are due. Well, we gave the shots. We gave them on 3/30 of 20. Well, now that we've marked that we gave the shots, the first shot, it highlights that because of their birth date and today's date, they are due for their second shot. So we gave them their second shot on the 15th. So now we've got records that when we gave the first shot, when we gave the second shot. You can put in the date that the ram lambs were banded if you band your ram lambs. Now you need to put in their birth weight. How much did these lambs weigh when they were born? The ewe lamb weighed 9.2 pounds. The ram weighed 10.8 pounds. You'll notice up here it gives averages. This yellow up here mostly gives you averages for a lot of these columns. It keeps track of how many lambs you had born, how many ewes, how many rams, things like that up here, general information. So again, in the green areas, we put in the information for each of our lambs. When we get ready to wean them, their 60-day weight, let's say this ewe weighed 52.4 pounds. The ram weighed 56.6 pounds. They should have been weighed on the 14th here, but we didn't get to it. We got them weighed on the 25th. So again, you can get your 60-day weights, the actual weight when you weighed them and the date that you weighed them. Even though it wasn't exactly 60 days, it will calculate out their average daily gain of weight from when they were born for 60 days, their 60-day corrected weight, and their 60-day adjusted weight. You'll notice these are different from their actual weights. Well, what is a 60-day corrected weight? Again, you go up here, click on that cell, and it will tell you. This is a calculated weight. It represents the weight the lamb would have been if you had weighed it on its 60th day, which we did not. So it calculated what it probably weighed at 60 days of age. 60-day adjusted weight. I use this weight a lot because this weight says this is what this lamb is calculated to have weighed on 60 days if it had been born as a single ewe lamb to a 3 to 6 year old ewe. So this allows you to see how this lamb compares to other lambs, like they were all born equally, and it's a head-to-head comparison. As you'll see, it according to this, had this ewe lamb and this ram lamb compared the same, the ewe actually outperformed the ram just a little bit, even though in reality the ram weighs more. But if you're deciding on replacement stock, what you're going to keep, you might want to look at how these adjusted weights are, so they're compared head to head against each other. Go to another green area. When did we wean these lambs? Well, we weaned them on the day that we weighed them. And if you don't wean your lambs, if you just let them run with your ewes all the time, try to put in a date you think that the ewe weaned them. It is used in some of the calculations. If you don't put in a date for when they were weaned, this ewe won't get credit for weaning this lamb. The ram won't get credit for this lamb. So put in a weaning date. You can put in a fecal egg count. You can put in their 120-day weights. Same thing. Put in the actual weight, when you weighed them, the date you weighed them, and it will calculate their average daily gains and their adjusted and corrected weights for 120 days. Put in a post-weaning fecal egg count if you keep that information. You can put in notes for each of your lambs. You put in foster information. Again, if you had triplets and you took one of those triplets and put it over on a ewe that had a single, you would put in here, what ewe did you foster this lamb onto? Again, these ewe information comes from the information you entered back here on this ewes tab. So that'll all be put in there for you. Real quick again, when the lambing season starts, you pull up the year you're lambing in, you put in the ram you used for each ewe, the date she was bred, put in her weights if you know them as your lambs are born. Let's see, we could put in the ram dates when the ram was with the ewes. We put in our lamb IDs. We put in the genome types if we know it. We put in their birth date, their sex, the mother, the father, the litter size, how they were raised. Did you notice them being born? How did she do accepting them? You've got the information here of when you gave CDT shots, the lamb's birth weight. We have their 60-day weights when you weaned them, and how their numbers here of how they grew. And all this is good information to have. And if you are in the NSIP program, the National Sheep Improvement Program, you'll need a lot of this information. And I've set this up so that as you put this information in throughout the lambing season, way out here to the side, if you keep scrolling, you will come to NSIP information. All this is put in for you as you enter it back on the earlier part of this page. So when you get ready to submit your information to NSIP, all you have to do is go to the status tab here, drop down menus of the status of these lambs, and then you can highlight this, copy it over, paste it to NSIP. It makes it pretty simple to keep all your records for that. So real quick again, you start out, you have an instruction page to help you get started. You have your use page, you have your ram page, and you have your lambing season page for each one. As you put this information in, you'll notice it starts putting it in on your U page. So on your Use tab, as you're putting information in year after year, it's keeping a running total of how this U is doing. The same thing for your rams. As you put information in, it's putting in information of how your rams are doing. So you can look at those over a period of time, or you can go in and look at each one on an individual year. How your ewes did, you can come over and see how each of your lambs did. And that's pretty much what I do to keep my records. It makes it pretty simple for me. If you have any questions about this, you can contact me. I'll try to explain it to you further, or just again go to your instructions page. So I hope this helps you a lot. Thank you.